really important that we begin to change the mindset of young people to know that your vote counts.
They don't understand that the legislative arm of government is actually a co-equal arm of government.
We have an incredible amount of potential.
Whatever it is I was doing, because of my personal DNA, it had to be of an international standard.
Which is what, seriously speaking, is all about.
Hello there, this is the month of March, the Women's Month. I love this month because this is when the International Women's Day happens, and it's going to be on the 8th of March. And this year, the theme is very simple: be bold for change. But for this reason, all of this month, I'll be talking to people I describe as some of the phenomenal women that exist in Nigeria who were bold enough to make a change in the professions that they chose to profess. And I'm going to be starting the conversation with somebody who, before people met her, she was a super consultant, strategist, accountant, all of the above. But after people met her, the whole idea of tax in this country began to be defined by her tenure as the chief tax officer in Nigeria. I'll take a break, and then when I return, you get to meet my first phenomenal woman on Seriously Speaking in this month of March, the International Women's Month. Don't go away. Now, what do you do when you interview somebody who's both a sister, a friend, and also a tax officer? Well, I just be me. She's laughing already. My guest today is Ifueko Omoigui Okauru. Ifueko, it's nice to have you on the show.
Thank you.
And to have you on this side. I couldn't get you to wear anything else but this, your skirt suit. I've had you wear short knicker and come here, let people see you in a different light. But it's nice to have you here, though.
Thank you.
And the reason I actually invited you, like I told you before, is because when your mother passed recently, right, that was last year now, and I was at the funeral, and then you announced that I didn't know your foundation existed, but there was this foundation that you set up, that she set up before she passed on, actually. And as I watched you bury your mother, I could see how so much like her you are, and how so much like you, your little daughter is. And I'm looking at 3 generations of women. Your mom was a phenomenal woman. And I hope you won't cry when you talk about her.
I can't promise that, but I will try.
No, but you see, the foundation that you've set up in her honor, what I find interesting is that she had even set up that foundation before she passed on that, Tell me about that.
Yes, the foundation was a family idea. She had just passed through a very lucky escape. She'd been in coma. We just discovered she had a respiratory illness, turned out to be sleep apnea, but a combination, actually at the end of the day, chronic respiratory disease. And she had been in a coma, come out, and we all thought it was a very close shave. And my father was celebrating, I think his 75th birthday or thereabouts, around the time. So we thought, let's combine both, do a foundation in their honor and give back to the community. So it was a way of really thanking God for their lives, thanking God for all that we had gone through. And therefore, we now said, okay, let's think about what do we now focus the foundation on. So Dagomo is actually an acronym for Daniel and Grace Omoigui.
Daniel is your father.
Daniel is my
Grace
father,
is
Grace is my mother, Omoigui is both their names. And so it was set up in 2009. But the idea behind what we decided to choose to start off with was my mom's. And that was to say, we're looking at, look at the society, what aspect of the community are we not giving attention to? Because we didn't want to just be like everybody else, but actually identify those areas that had not been covered. And the elderly was one. She mentioned that as she was getting older, there was really no attention to people who are getting older. It was getting more difficult. She didn't even realize herself how difficult aging would be. And when you travel out, you see that there's more. The societies encourage, there's infrastructure to support the elderly. The way the houses are built, even going on the bus, you get a discount as an elderly. You get to certain places, you get special treatment. You have, geriatric centers all over the place.
So she was concerned for the old.
She was concerned for the old. And then the dead, because again, looking at the Benin community, a lot of people buried at home. She was also questioning, my mom was very foresighted. She was already questioning how long will that continue to be?
Absolutely.
And that public cemeteries, are not maintained in Edo State. And if you look around, that has been a traditional issue. But we now expanded it. So for the dead is also, who cares for the mortuary attendant? Who cares when somebody dies, how the morgues are treated and how the morgues in itself are kept? You know, sometimes people complain that when their loved ones die, they just throw the bodies, you know, because there's no space. You know, and then of course, in communities where you do not have well-maintained public cemeteries, how do we help to work with government to maintain public cemeteries and perhaps even have a private cemetery as an example of the way to go?
So the question is, this woman lives on in the foundation that she was part of setting up.
Completely.
And I think it's a good time for me to take a break because I want to return, before we ran this show, before we taped, I asked people to send in a couple of questions, and of course they were talking about tax and other stuff matters. So I will take a break and come back so I can engage some of those questions and finish the discussion I have with you on the Dagomo Foundation.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. Yes, I'm back in the studios with Ifueko Omoigui Okauru and the former Director General for Federal Inland Revenue Services, but we're talking to Dagomo here. And we broke off at the point, welcome back, I must say to everybody. We broke up at the point where you said the aim is to care for the elderly. But I also know that you also mentioned the fact about the circumstances of your mother's death, for example, the state of healthcare and lack of security. All those things are also concerns of yours.
Very much so. In fact, just to go back to when my mom was shot and having to go through...
Yeah, for the benefit of those I don't know, your mom was shot in the course of picking up...
Going to the bank and just doing her normal daily living activities, which we encourage all elderly people to do. And she was coming back from the bank and she was followed. And in the course of wanting to take the money, she was shot.
But I hear she challenged and said, what?
She talked about that in the hospital. I tell you, she's very bold. And it wasn't even so much challenging from a point of view of just wanting to challenge, but more from, again, her teaching point of view, that why are you doing this?
I must take my questions because there were some people that are asking questions around tax. I think the very first question I got was from, I can't remember. Can I have the first question on air? I got the first question, which is very simple. The very first question I got is this one from Elisha. She wants to understand the difference. Elisha is a guy, I want to believe. Can you explain the difference between withholding tax and value-added tax? And is there a reason why businesses charge both?
Now, let me talk to the audience, because the truth of the matter is that there's a difference between withholding tax and value-added. And it's a question that I get all the time, and it's one of the least understood concepts in taxation. First of all, withholding tax is not your tax. I think it's very important to understand that withholding tax is not a tax per se. It is called withholding tax, and I think that gives a misnomer that it's a tax. Withholding tax is the aspect of the tax, the organization that is being charged is supposed to pay at the end of the year.
In other words, if I do business with you,
yes,
and you charge me withholding tax,
yes,
you take it out of the money.
I don't charge you.
Okay.
I withhold your tax. Okay?
Okay.
I withhold, so it's just called withholding tax. But if I do business with you and I'm supposed, and you send me an
invoice for 100,000, say.
Invoice 100,000. Now, I take 10% off. I withhold it to give the tax authority.
So now, do I still have to pay VAT if you've taken withholding tax from me?
Now, hold on. Remember that you have two types of taxes for you as an organization. Well, more than two, but let's keep it simple at two. You have your company income tax and you have your value-added tax. Your company income tax is what is charged on your income. And
as a company.
As a company, at the end of the year, you compute your expenses, your income, your profit before taxation, then the tax is charged before you get your profit after tax. That tax that is charged, let's say it's 30%, which is what the law says, is what you should pay at the end of the year. Now, the way the tax authorities have designed the law, because a lot of companies are not part of the tax net, instead they now put the onus on those you do business with to please withhold, in some cases 5, in some cases 10, of any business that you do. And you are now to pull together, and I owe you to give you a withholding tax certificate that shows that you have paid tax.
So I think that's what the question is. When you do business and there's been a withholding tax on your receipt, make sure you get the receipt for that.
Make sure you get the withholding tax certificate, because what you use that for is at the end of the year, when you compute your normal company income tax, you're not supposed to pay any tax as long as your tax has been withheld. So you should go with your withholding tax certificate. If it adds up to the tax you've computed, you have no tax to pay.
So collect your certificate.
Collect your certificate.
It doesn't preclude you paying VAT.
It doesn't, because VAT is a completely different tax. Now, VAT is a tax on consumption. It's not a tax on income. Now, whereas I'm withholding your tax, I am the consumer, aren't I? I'm the one paying VAT.
So people give you tax and say VAT included?
Yes. So if VAT is included, understand that it's a consumption tax. They're adding that tax for you, because you are liable to pay that tax as a consumer. The person that is now...
So if I add it, I must give it back to you?
Well, let's put it this way. If you add it, you're supposed to give that tax to the government.
To government.
Okay? Or net it off the taxes you were charged as VAT. Is the net you pay to government.
Look for good consultants. If you ask me. Look for good consultants to explain to you. But I think this Ifueko's question is very timely. He says, in terms of change, how would you say you influenced the tax system while you were in the office? Because everybody knows that you were called taxman. And for the first time, people realized that government can actually collect tax and collect big money, right?
Yes, I think, first of all, is in anything that you do, particularly when you're in a service organization, and I think in the case of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, which is a service organization, you cannot provide a service without putting people at the center of what you're doing. Now, in the case of tax, is the people who are the tax officers themselves. So there was a need to organize the service to ensure you're building capacity, to ensure you have the right type of people, to ensure you are training the people, and to ensure that they are motivating the people.
And more enlightenment, too.
And more,
I think that was what...
There was that. So then also the people side on the public end, because people didn't even know what they were paying taxes for. People didn't know what taxes were about. And so, yes, you have the laws, but if you do not recognize that people are the ones to respect the laws, and if the people do not understand the law, just going through enforcement just like that without educating them first really does not help the system.
Would you say Nigerians trust the taxman a little bit more now, or we are still very skeptical?
I think for trust to happen in the real sense of the word, it's not really just the service or the Federal Inland Revenue Service, or in the case of the state Internal Revenue Service. It's actually the government as a whole. Because really the argument for tax is that it's you contributing to developing your country. And that's why you should pay tax.
Thank you very much, Opina.
You're very welcome.
I wish Dagobo all the best. And in any ways that we can support, we will do so. And we'll just scroll how you can be part of Dagobo too, and all of that as the show ends today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again next week.